This mess of makeup is the closest thing you're getting to a costume from me this year. Hi, hello, my name is Emily Victoria. Welcome to my channel where I am slowly starting to get an idea of the kind of content I want to create here. That's what the Tumblr kids call character development. Since it's very nearly Halloween, I thought it only fitting that I make a list of my favorite horror films. And a lot of my favorite films are in a series of films, so I will be talking about them just as a whole. Also, I asked the general population on Twitter what their favorite horror films are, so I'll be showcasing all of those at the end. I want to do more videos where I ask people's opinions and get answers in future videos, so if you want to join that conversation, please follow me on Twitter and Instagram at WickedVirgo. Okay, without further ado, here is my list of favorite horror films. I feel like this movie is on the list for very obvious reasons. It's by far the scariest movie I've ever watched. It's a classic horror film, and I pray every day to the gods that it never gets remade. Part of what makes it scary for me is the fact that, unlike a lot of movies, and not just horror films today, are heavily reliant on CGI to create this scary atmosphere and effect. This film came out in 1973, and while yes, they did have computer generation techniques that they could use, I've found that films today are much more reliant on using computer to create the desired effect. And this movie is just pure movie magic to me, which is just special effects makeup, machinery, and of course delicious pea soup. Ugh.
You tell me you know for a fact that an exorcism wouldn't do any good! You tell me that!
This movie came out this month on Netflix, and I watched it about 2 days, I think, after it came out, and it has just earned a very special place in my heart. This movie has a fantastic cast that is led by Dan Stevens, who I started to really appreciate his acting in the show Legion, where he plays the title character, and that is by far Marvel's best TV show that's on air in my opinion, but that is beside the point. This movie is about a man who comes back home to London, only to find that his younger sister is being held ransom by this cult that has situated themselves on a far-off island. He does what I think any good brother would do, which is he goes to join the cult undercover to find her, save her, but then a whole bunch of horrifying, disturbing things start to happen. All of the things that happen are caused by these cult leaders, and I don't want to give the story away too much, obviously, especially if you want to watch it, but if you are really into watching a very medieval sort of torture device used to kill someone, I highly suggest this movie for you.
Who are you?
If you haven't heard of this movie, you have been living under a rock for the past year or so. This movie won a bunch of awards when it came out, and rightly so. This movie is classified as a thriller, and it really is. I find it disturbing in other ways as opposed to your typical horror film where you have demons and godlike monsters chasing after you and big masked men trying to kill you with really sharp objects. This movie is disturbing in the fact that it is basically centered around this very scientific form of slavery. And I think the fact that, considering our current climate in the US, that's what makes it so terrifying, and I'm sure that was the point. I highly suggest it. It's disturbing, it's hard to watch, and it's just a really good movie. It was very well done.
Good to see another brother around here.
Chris was just telling me how he felt much more comfortable with my being here. Get out.
Sorry, man.
Get out! Yo!
The first time I watched Insidious was in 8th grade, and for some reason we didn't have classes that day, so my advisory teacher was just like, hey, let's watch a scary movie. So she put on the first Insidious film, and thanks to her, I have been in love with this series. It's just so good. Part of the reason I love this series so much is because it's unlike any horror movie I have ever seen. It has the typical elements: jump scares, the occasional possession, demons telling you what a shit person you are.
You're a useless fucking father. Your wife had to die to get away from you. And now I'd rather be dead too.
But it's also created its own universe. I have watched horror movies my entire life, and up until that point I had never seen a series that created its own extended world. When they introduced the world on the other side of the veil called The Further, I was just in absolute awe. Yes, there are many series and movies, especially in the horror genre now, where they all follow one cohesive storyline in each sequel, but there's just something about Insidious that I really appreciate and love.
People who need help with matters that can't be explained come to me. These hauntings can be terrifying things. I should know. I've faced many evils in my life.
I am a sucker for any movie that is based on or inspired by true events, so obviously The Conjuring world is on this list. I am a big fan of reading about the Warrens cases, and as someone who very strongly believes in spirits inhabiting our world and the paranormal, their work is just very interesting for me to read, even if some of their cases have proven to be falsified. And I know Lorraine Warren was consulted on at least the first Conjuring film, so you know it's going to be as accurate as you can get. And I still haven't watched The Nun, but I'm really excited to. I've heard mixed reviews about it.
You have a lot of spirits in here, but there's one that I'm most worried about because it is so hateful.
Now for some honorable mentions. The Witch, which I've heard they're making a sequel for, though I'm not sure. As long as Anya Taylor-Joy is still in it, I will be a very happy girl. Split. I'm not going to go into detail on this one just because I'm a huge fan of James McAvoy, and once you get me started talking about him, I don't shut up. So, also this movie is just an awesome addition to the Unbreakable franchise, and I'm really excited to see Glass when it comes out. So that's my list of movies. Horror is my favorite genre of film. I love to be scared. There's a lot more favorites that I personally have that I didn't put on this list just because the video is going to be too long to talk about them all, but that's what I have Twitter for. So thank you to everyone on Twitter who answered me. I really do appreciate it. It's not every day that I get people answering my questions on social media, and wow, this just got really sad. Anyway, if you watched this video, thank you so much. I had a lot of fun making it. I try to make new videos every week, so if you want to subscribe, I guess you can. I don't know. You don't have to. That's up to you. And maybe I will see you next time. Okay, bye. Oh, now I'm bald. I hope those takes were good enough because I really don't want to put on that wig again.